Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Ron, you know you're second in the state in tees.
When I go talk to Turkovich at the scores
Get
table,
a picture.
I said, get as many pictures as you can.
And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? We are not kidding you, man. We are back on our favorite Monday nights at the great Bar Louie's, where the food is phenomenal. The ambiance downstairs with about 100 TVs. There's a great crowd down there tonight. I don't know if they have a party going on, but a lot of people. Tuesday night, half price burgers, right?
Right, exactly. I talked to some people over the weekend. They said, yeah, we're here all the time. I said, well, we're here on Monday night.
Yeah, so I think it's a great place. Our intro music, obviously, played by the great Black Sedan Band down in Birmingham, Alabama. My brother, the great Donnie Heck, is the drummer and can chop it out with anybody. So if you like their music, go on YouTube and click their music. If you like it and you want them to play, let me know. Get a hold of him. They do travel. A couple of our major sponsors, and we'll get into our other sponsors here a little bit later. But Tony Letcher at Health Markets Insurance, whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, it is the right time for the right coverage for the right price. Call Tony at 574-307-8882. You see him on your screen there, or visit his website at tletcher.com. Hahn Funeral, man, they've been with us this whole 28-week segment, man. Yep. And the loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, we're here to help. It's a family-owned funeral home. They're, the people that work there, my son works there, Aaron Bugsy, a.k.a. Bugsy. You walk into the funeral home, he's got a badge on it that says Bugsy. So it automatically sets your heart at ease a little bit, right?
Comfort, sure.
Yeah, and they're just really great. Hahn Funeral Home's located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mishawaka. We're hoping to have Pat Hahn with us next week live.
Good.
Maybe we'll talk about cremation. Maybe we'll talk about how you embalm somebody.
We might. You never know.
With us, you never know.
You never know.
We're going to have the great Shane Sumter on at about 7:20. Shane is. And there's a lot of time periods that happen in the state. Like Lawrence North was the place to be, 20 years ago when Olden and Conley and people moving in, they're moving in to Lawrence North. It became Hamilton Southeastern. It became Fishers.
Right.
Now the great community of Westfield is attracting people.
They've moved north.
Shane's got a great program. So we'll talk about him and we'll talk to him. We'll talk the Super Bowl. We'll talk IU and Purdue. We'll talk some other college stuff. I got a couple of things on some college football, maybe.
Right.
You got high school. You got high school coming out of your wazoo,
I know.
man.
I was at the girls regional this weekend. That was the big deal for us, for the girls basketball regional here in the state. So
what games did you have?
I was over at the 4A over at LaPorte. Got to see South Bend, Washington, and Lake Central. And got to see Northridge and Valpo.
So obviously those were two games that I don't know. I'm not that much into girls basketball. I think it's great. And I'm not saying that to be negative, but I kind of thought South Bend Washington might win that, and I thought Northridge would win for sure. But they were great games. Talk about that Washington game for a minute.
Well, the region teams are good, and the Washington game with Lake Central was a rematch from last year's semi-state. The two teams had played this year, the very first game of the season, matter of fact, and Washington won a close game there. But it's interesting that the coach at Lake Central is our friend Joe Huppenthal from South Bend Clay. Joe and I coached against each other when for 15 years when he was at Clay and I was at Adams. And then I went to Madison and to coach boys, and he headed for the regions, been coaching the girls over there for the last 8 or 10 years.
Was that a close game?
Never.
Never a close game.
Lake Central jumped. It was 9-0. They pitched a shutout first quarter.
Jeez.
And they had a no-hitter going on South Bend, Washington.
Well,
and,
in ping pong, we call that a skunk, don't we?
Yes, it was.
I mean, 11-zip is a skunk.
They just jumped on them. I think it was 19-10 at the half. I mean, to think that you can hold Washington to 10 points at the half was an accomplishment in itself. So the defense was really good. Washington came back, closed the gap to maybe 2 or 4 at the end of 3. And then Lake Central just ran off and hid in the fourth quarter.
Washington got seniors, or they have players coming back?
I had mentioned in the pregame, if you're going to get Washington, this is the year to do it. They have 0 seniors,
and they're all coming back next year.
They're all freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, so they have everybody coming back.
Yeah, that's good for good for Steve Reynolds.
Yes, and then the second game, Northridge led for 31 minutes and got beat.
You're kidding me.
They led for 31 minutes.
Man.
Valpo came back, took the lead by, I think that was a 2-point game for 1 possession.
Wow, what a game.
They came back, they came down, and then Northridge came back and tied it, and then it got to be a 1-point game, and I think the final score was the second tie. He scored with 8 seconds left, and then Northridge came down and didn't get a shot. They bounced it off their foot, and the ball got knocked loose, and they ended up never got a shot.
So did you tell your boss, the great John Overmeyer, that the don't pay me for that game? It was such a great game.
It was a great game. I'll do it.
And you did it for free.
Yeah, I did it for
that's so
food.
Nice of you.
I told him I'd do it for the food. So you know what he did? He sent me to the hospitality room.
And the food was free. John, come on, Johnny, be good.
John said, "Here, I'll treat you."
Come on, man.
He said, "Sit down here." So he went over and he got a piece of pizza. Brought me a piece of pizza.
Oh, so I thought, my bad. I thought John. John moves up to administration now, right?
I know.
And as an administrator, I thought he's gonna take care of you, man.
You would think.
Yeah. Man, the great Pat King. Hey, Super Bowl Sunday, man.
I know. Hey, before we do that, you had some stuff going on yesterday. You got some new puppies. You got some new dogs.
No, man, those little things are.
Tell us about the dogs.
So I lost our Saint Bernard in September. 14 years old. It was just time we had to put her down. I swore on a stack of Bibles, I am not getting another dog. I want freedom, right? Freedom.
Yeah. So you
we want to go to Michigan or pick apples or pick cherries.
You guys are
or whatever.
You're empty nesters.
Yeah,
now, you can pick and choose and
I was good to that for about 6 weeks. I'm coming home on Cleveland Avenue, on Cleveland. I mean, just before I get to Ironwood, I see a sign, Bernedoodle Puppies.
Bernedoodles.
So I pass it.
Right.
And then the next street, for some strange reason, I turn right and I go to it. But I passed it initially. I go to it.
Dear.
In my heart, I'm saying, let me just go look.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, little puppies are cute. Let me look.
Curiosity. Yep.
Yeah. So then I get there, and there's 8 of them. There's 8 of them.
Scott, are they cute?
Yeah, I'm taking them to get their second round of shots.
I don't know. The guy holding the cart's pretty good looking.
I'm just saying, man.
I don't know. Terry Turner, where are you? What'd you say today? Terry wanted to know if you did okay.
If I'm the one that passed out, right?
I wanted to know. Terry Turner and Charlotte Danforth were picking on you. I read that.
No, I'm cool. But anyway, the second mistake I made, I call my sweet Monica and say, "Hey, baby, why don't you come to this address?" And she goes, "What for?" And I said, "Just come." She walks in. She sees these 8 dogs running around. Her face gets big and smiling and happiest I've seen her in a long time. Third mistake I make, they have 2 females, and we like female dogs. I don't know. I mean, like male dogs are always hunching you. The rocket's flying out, and they're always hunching you, man.
Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, I ain't getting a male dog, man. If I'm gonna hunch, I'm gonna hunch myself. You know. And so
that's where you get the prices right. You got to spade and neuter them, take care of that.
Yeah. And so so there's 2 females. One's the runt, one's another one. I say, "Monica, which one you want?" She goes, I want this one. I said, "Well, I want this one."
Oh dear.
Let's get both of them because they got buddies.
So yeah,
they got a buddy.
Scott,
so we got both.
Scott, show us that shopping cart again. You got how many?
I got 2.
Oh dear.
I got 2, and the one on the left is Willow Tree. Willow Tree Hecklinski, and the one on the right is Ivy Lou Pinella Hecklinski. So there they are, man. And
got a dog named Lou Pinella.
Ivy Lou Pinella.
Oh dear.
So yeah, we're there. So there they are, man. They're moving a little bit.
So a live picture, and you tell me they're looking at a Bernedoodle, right?
They're looking at a grown Bernedoodle right in front of us. Because if you go to Tractor Supply on certain times, you don't have to make appointments and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my life. That's the life of dogs with Ron Hecklinski. Super Bowl Sunday. What are your quick first initial thoughts?
I was impressed. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Kansas City worked awful hard to get here. They're going to be hard to beat. And same thing we've talked about. He's pulling a Brady. You give Mahomes 2 minutes, and he's going to score.
Yeah, but then my thought on it was he didn't play very well early. The first half was average. He did not play well. He missed some easy looks, and I don't say easy, but for NFL quarterbacks, he had some wide open looks. But I'll tell you what I believe won that Super Bowl for Kansas City was their defense.
Oh, no doubt.
Because while Mahomes was not lighting it up, their defense kept Brock Purdy. Kept it close.
Well, the only.
Can you guys still appreciate a good defensive battle? Because I thought the battle on the defensive lines was phenomenal. Watching Nick Bosa and Chase Young on San Francisco's D line was amazing.
If the 49ers would have won, I thought Bosa would have had a shot at MVP.
Yeah, but then it would have been Juwan Jennings for scoring a TD and throwing a TD. But then Chris Jones for the Chiefs was amazing. Karlaftis, you'll like hearing this, Scott, from Purdue, was really, really good.
He's been in the league 2 years and won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
I'll just retire.
That's pretty good stuff.
No, that's really good stuff. But then on the 2 drives that Mahomes had to take him down and had to score, he was vintage Mahomes.
Yes, very good.
I mean, vintage Mahomes, and not playing with a who's who list of wide receivers, just average wide receivers, with the exception of a first ballot Hall of Famer, Travis Kelce.
And Kelsey's played well here in the playoffs.
Sure. he didn't make an impact until probably the second half and maybe halfway through the third quarter.
Well, and I think a lot of that had to do with you had 2 very good teams that were very well scouted. And there were a lot of adjustments that were made in that halftime. They knew what they wanted to do.
Well, no, they had 45 minutes to an hour.
That's for sure. And but they came out third quarter. I thought you saw things started to happen in the third quarter.
Yeah, and here's exactly what happened. The NFL directors went and got Andy Reid in the hallway, and they said, listen, you got to start throwing some passes to Kelce because we got to get Taylor Swift on the TV here. We got to get her on the screen, man, because the ratings go up.
Well, and I was reading where people had drinking games going during the Super Bowl, that every time there was a picture of Taylor Swift,
they were taking a shot.
They had to take a drink.
Dead.
Now, we didn't do that.
No, we didn't.
But I was reading all the different things between betting on the coin toss, betting on what color the Gatorade was,
and betting on how long the national anthem would be. And by the way, Reba was great.
And they predicted. They said the average. We even talked about the average national anthem's like 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And they said Reba had sung the national anthem in previous events, and she was usually right around 90 seconds. Maybe it was stock car races or something, I don't know. But they were guessing 90 seconds, and somebody said she was right at 91 seconds for the anthem.
So what do you guys think of San Francisco taking the ball first in overtime? Because there's a lot of people on the radio down here in Dallas that are saying that Kyle Shanahan forgot what the rule was in the new playoff overtime format where both teams, regardless, can get the ball.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So the thing was, if they didn't score at the end of the first overtime, they would have just changed ends, right, Scott? And it would have been third down and goal with a new 15 on the clock.
Correct.
That's the way I understood it. And the 49ers didn't know that. I could have seen them when it goes to 0. They would have run out on the field and said, "We won."
Yeah. So that has played out now. I mean, kind of big, because Kyle Shanahan said that, well, we knew all about it, and as a coaching staff, we had made plans if this happened, blah blah blah. But then they interviewed the players for San Francisco, and the players said we had no idea that there was a new rule for overtime. Our coaches didn't talk to us at all. And then you flip it to the Kansas City side, and every Kansas City player said to a man, we knew exactly, because we've been practicing the last 2 weeks as if
overtime situations.
Yeah, and so there was some discrepancy there.
Would it have made any difference?
I read something somewhere that Mecole Hardman, that caught the last touchdown pass, didn't realize that they had won until Patrick Mahomes was like running over to him going crazy, because he caught the ball and just kind of scored. He was happy, obviously, that they scored, but I don't think he realized that they had won immediately.
Yeah, there was kind of a delay in celebration. I noticed that.
Yeah, and so I think then that that when you redo the coin toss, that when you go out there for the overtime, that the officials are real clear in how they're explaining, this is the overtime period, this is what's going to happen, blah blah blah. So I think some of the players knew, but I mean, if I were to take a shot and say whose advantage of it is either to play defense first or be on offense first.
Yeah, so that would have been the key. It'd be almost like the college idea. Do you want the ball first, or do you want to play defense first?
And if you play defense first and now they kick a field goal or whatever, then you know exactly what you have to do to win. But I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Scott?
I didn't like Kyle Shanahan's explanation of why they took the ball first. I would have accepted the fact if he had just said that their defense had been on the field for a long time and their defense was just exhausted, so they wanted to give their defense a rest. I would have bought that a little bit, but his whole explanation of they ran the analytics and they wanted to get the ball third so that when it went sudden death after the first 2 possessions, then they could just walk off with a field goal. I don't know if I buy that, because like you guys had said, you give Patrick Mahomes especially if Patrick Mahomes knows what he has to do to go win the game, he's going to go win the game.
Yeah.
Well, because I think I read someplace where Kansas City people had talked where they had already made decisions that if the 49ers would have scored 7 and it would have been 7-0, that if they would have scored, they were going for 2.
Yeah, exactly. And they had practiced plays for 2 weeks on how to get to.
They weren't going to give Shanahan that third possession.
Yeah, I mean, you're either going to. I mean, there's no tie.
Right.
I mean, we're either going to win it or we're going to lose.
They weren't going to tie and go to a second overtime.
Hey, so I think this is a very interesting point that I was listening to some people talk about today. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, blah blah blah. Now, and that's not saying that he's not a good quarterback, because I mean, I heard today that there were 5 or 6 teams that would have tried to sign him as an undrafted free agent. So people knew about him, and obviously the 49ers did too, and used the last pick to take him. But they were saying that if Kendall Vildor, if the ball wouldn't have hit him in the head, and he would have intercepted that ball, that the Lions would have won, and all the Brock Purdy mania, would have been tempered a little bit, and maybe the 49ers would have been in the market for another quarterback. Yeah. And that's just, that just goes to show you how inexact quarterback evaluation is, because if he intercepts that ball, then is Brock Purdy all this and that in the bag of chips?
Is he all of a sudden not a good quarterback?
Yeah. And so the inexact science of all of it, because in a couple of weeks now, and you and I will break this down in a couple of weeks, the Chicago Bears, I'll allow my hat.
I saw your hat.
The Chicago Bears are going to make that decision, whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. And
we do have a comment in the chat about that hat, by the way.
What do we got?
Chloe says, "Nice hat, go Bears! Get him, Chloe."
Thank you, Chloe.
Chloe's one of Sophia's buds.
All right.
So that's
Thank
an
you.
inside. That's an inside
I
job.
appreciate that, man. But
Scott, hey, I do know some breaking news on quarterbacks. I did see where the Steelers and quarterback Mitchell Trubisky mutually decided to part ways today.
no, listen to me. That wasn't mutual at all. Hey, Mitch, you gone. Hey.
I saw the word mutual used in the comments.
No, I mean, no mutuality at all.
Well, he's now on waivers.
Yeah. So I mean, Ken Harrelson, the old announcer for the White Sox, right? Hawk Harrelson. When anybody would strike out, he said, "He gone." Hey, Mitch, he gone. You gone.
You know Hawk Harrelson. You played golf up. He was a member at Knollwood Country Club. He lived right there.
Yeah, he still lives in Granger, doesn't he?
And he does live in Granger. His grandson played basketball for South Bend Adams. But Mitch, you gone.
You gone.
We can say mutual, but you gone. Hey, listen.
Put it on the board. Yes.
All right.
Hey, why don't you guys do?
I was a White Sox fan, right?
I'm going to get the great Shane Sumter on the line.
Hit us with some commercials, Scott. We'll be back. We're going to talk Westfield basketball.
All right. Before we do that, go to magicmind.com/Ron. Use the code Ron for 20% off. So you're not using Prevagen and getting addicted to memory pills. I don't know if they're addictive or not, but it's better for you than taking drugs. So there you go. magicmind.com/Ron. Use the code Ron for 20% off. And then our apparel sponsor, MailReg, which I'm not wearing right now. It's in the laundry, but mailreg.com/IND Coach's Corner. Get you 10% off. It's basically free shipping. It's good stuff. Hoodies, polos, quarter zips. I think they have pants. I don't remember if they have pants or not. Whatever. It's good stuff. Go check that out. And we will be right back.
Andy Kern is a real estate broker with Weichert Realtors Jim Dunphy and Associates. The office is locally owned but has big company resources behind it that many smaller real estate offices just don't have. Whether you're selling your fifth house or buying your starter home, Andy can help. He has 6 years of real estate experience and is a lifelong St. Joe County resident. Jim Dunphy and Associates has decades of local experience. Call or text broker Andy Kern at 574-386-4479 for great local service. He is the Colonel. James Carpenter is a real estate broker with Weichert Realtors Jim Dunphy and Associates. The office is locally owned, but it has big company resources behind it that many smaller real estate offices just don't have. Whether you're selling your fifth house or buying your starter home, James can help. James is a South Bend lifer and has 6 years of real estate experience. Jim Dunphy and Associates has decades of local experience. Call or text broker Jim Carpenter at 574-292-CARP. That's 292-2277 for great local service. Frick's Driving School has been named the best driving school in Michiana. Frick's was started in 1960 and is located on Edison Road in Mishawaka. If your child is 15, you can get them started at Frick's. There are multiple instructions available for your driving lessons. Check out the broadcastsport.net main page and click on the Frick's icon to get more information. There you can find out more information and instructions to enroll your new driver. Frick's Driving School, a proud sponsor of Coach's Corner on broadcastsport.net.
Hello, I'm Dr. Karch, and I want to invite you to stop by my office on Cleveland Road in South Bend, just east of Portage Avenue. I've been serving Michiana for over 20 years, specializing in back pain, neck pain, headaches, naturally with gentle chiropractic care. Come see me for a free consultation.
Courage Chiropractic and Wellness Center, when your body needs somebody to help.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me? We have the great Shane Sumter with us. Shane's a longtime assistant of mine at Anderson High School. Shane, how you doing, man?
See if he's on here. What do we got to do, Scott? I wonder if you're Bluetoothed.
Shane, you there?
We're working on it.
All right. I mean, do you have him connected?
Yeah, he's on the phone.
Is the Bluetooth on?
I've had it. It's blinking right now. So now talk to him. Say,
Shane, you there? Sump.
I don't know if we have Hex phone Bluetooth yet.
All right, all right, why don't we
See, everybody, this is the beauty of me not being there, is we run into issues like this where it's welcome to our brand new segment called Help Two Boomers Connect a Bluetooth Device.
All right. Well, I got tell Heck how to Bluetooth his phone.
No.
Go to your settings and then Bluetooth.
I got it.
All right.
Settings on Bluetooth. All right. Then what? I push this little button.
Is it in the devices on your Bluetooth to select from?
BTA, right?
Push, hit that.
Yep.
Connected. We're there. Shane, you there?
I'm here.
What's
There
happening,
we go.
baby? How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh
Lord.
man. So for our listeners, Shane Sumter was a great high school basketball player at Frankton High School. Played for the legendary Rex Bacher, right?
I did. Yeah.
I've known Rex a long time.
Yeah, Rex was awesome, and Rex came up under the great Calvin Bailey, and all of the great stories of the 2-3 zone and the flex offense at Frankton, and then Shane went on and had a nice career at Anderson University, and then we hired him at Anderson High School to be our JV coach. He coached, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years with the boys at the Wigwam, right?
Well, I think it was more like 6. I was there 5 or 6 with you, Coach. Yeah,
Dang, 6 years?
Yeah, you had to put up with me for a while, I tell you.
How'd you not pull your hair out?
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It does. It certainly does.
Yeah, no, we had the basketball at Anderson High School, the Wigwam, the whole thing. And you knew about it being in the county playing at Frankton. That had to be kind of cool. Coming right out of college and getting to start in a program like that, right?
Well, it was unbelievable. When I got hired at Anderson to teach and coach, it was like a dream come true. I grew up in Madison County, and I still talk about the Wigwam to this day. And to be able to coach there, for 5 or 6 years with you at the Wigwam, and it was for a younger guy getting his start. It was just a tremendous opportunity, and I enjoyed every day.
Yeah, and then you went and switched over to the girls' side. You became the head girls coach at Anderson High School. Did that for what, 3 years maybe?
No, just I was just there for 1, and then you could kind of see the writing on the wall where they were going to close down Highland, and so I started looking for a job just because I knew teachers were going to get ripped, and with the closing of Highland. So I applied for a few jobs, and I ended up getting the Westfield girls job. And I did that for 7 years, and then took over the boys program. So I've been at Westfield for a while, but I believe I was at Anderson for a total of 7, 6 with you and 1 with the girls.
Yeah. So a 9th year at Westfield, a record of 128-82. And I know you didn't take over for the great Brad Lindsay, but our good friend Brad, who went into the administrative side of it, was the head coach at Westfield. We used to play Brad a little bit, and he did a great job there. Was he influential with you going back to Westfield then?
Well, Brad's been influential to me for a very long time. When I was with you, we did play Westfield, and Brad was the coach there. But, Brad was an assistant at Anderson University many years ago when I was in high school. And that was actually my first run-in with Brad. And then I got to know him a little bit. And then, just one thing led to another. And I've remained friends with Brad to this day. And we talk, if not every week, every other week. But, he got out of coaching and went to administration. And he's been a superintendent for many years at Marion and Mooresville. And he left Westfield many years ago and went to Jay County as their athletic director. So, I've known Brad for many years, and he's definitely one of my mentors, as you are, Coach. But just very much a great guy, and I've stayed in touch with him over the years.
So the program that you have developed at Westfield now is outstanding. This year you're 16-2. A couple years ago you coached Mr. Basketball in Braden Smith. Talk about your program now as you're in your 9th year and where it was when you started, how hard you had to work to get it to where it is now. And now, I mean, it's not cruise control, but you have players coming through every year now. And talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, when I took over the job, I was the girls' coach there for many years, so I knew what work we had to do because I'd been in the building for 6 or 7 years, so I knew the program that had to be built there at Westfield, and we had to create some excitement. We had to create a strong feeder program, and I knew that wasn't going to be done overnight. I knew it would take 2, 3, 4 years to do that, and by year 4, we have a kid named Braden Smith coming in as a freshman. We end up playing in the Hall of Fame. We win that. We beat Cathedral. 2 years ago, we won the first sectional championship. So I knew I was going to, we was going to have to roll our sleeves up and get to work. But I'm surrounded by a great coaching staff. I've been very blessed with a very supportive administration. As you know, Westfield is a growing community. It's a very fast growing school. But the basketball tradition wasn't there, 9, 10, 12 years ago. It's something that we had to build. I feel like, certainly we've done that. But it didn't, it wasn't an overnight process. It just really took time. And we got a lot of little kids running around Westfield that wants to be the next Braden Smith. So if you would have told me 10 years ago, this is the script that it's going to go, I probably would have signed off on it, to be honest with you. It took 3, 4, 5 years, and then like I said, you got a Braden Smith that comes in and, just changes everything. And, we've had a lot of sellout games. Obviously Carmel's a big rival of ours now, but just extremely tough area for sports and for basketball.
Braden was the real deal when he came in as a freshman, right? I mean, did you play him on the varsity as a freshman?
Yeah, he did. But, Braden's a kid that had doubters. Even as a freshman, he was 135 pounds and he was 5'9". And people looked at him. And when I told people, like, he'll be an Indiana All-Star, they looked at me like I was crazy because he looked like a middle school kid. But once the game started, it didn't matter because he was just that good. And it didn't matter that he was undersized. He was just the most competitive kid that I've ever been around. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He still does right now at Purdue. But yes, he started every single game until he broke his foot his senior year, and he sat out and then came back in the sectional, and we actually won it. And what he did in the sectional his senior year, I've never seen a player put on a performance in 3 games like he did.
Yeah, so there's a famous story going around that his locker. Someone else was going to use his locker the next year when he graduated, and he would leave a pair of shoes in that for the next player. Did that happen? Was that true?
It was, yeah. I actually, Braden had a story last week on the Big Ten, the Journey, and I was interviewed for that. But I knew nothing about it. The kids get to come in and they get to select their lockers each year. But I heard some roaring in the locker room, and all of a sudden I walked out there and like, what is going on? Well, Braden had signed a pair of his shoes and left them in the locker and didn't say anything to anybody. It was a really cool thing. Braden's got a big heart, he really does, and that was a really cool thing. He was actually a freshman that made our JV team that picked that locker out and got a pair of Braden Smith autographed shoes.
I can't tell you how cool that is. And then he goes on, starts as a freshman in the Big Ten, and Matt Painter's such a great coach, and he's lucky then that he gets to play with a 7'4" guy, Edey. I really believe this. I think as a freshman he got worn down, and just the expectations of what was going to be there for him and Fletcher Lawyer as freshmen. Then at the end of the season, I thought they were worn down, but I don't see him getting worn down now. I think he's a veteran. I think he knows how to take care of his body, and I see him getting stronger as the season progresses now, right?
Oh, no, I believe so. No, I those guys were, him and Fletcher Lawyer were freshmen last year, and obviously Purdue is one of the best teams in the country. I think those guards are more experienced, and I really believe they'll make a strong run here. But Braden's gotten better, and one thing that he's done this year that he didn't really do last year is he's scoring more for Purdue. If you watch Braden in high school, he was averaging 20-some a game, and he could knock down the three, he could get to the rim, he could do all those things. And last year, I thought he was a little bit passive. And actually, a funny story, they were 2 weeks into practice last year, and I get a phone call. I'm at Kroger, with my wife, and it was.
What are you
was
buying
Coach
at
Painter.
Kroger? What are you
I was
buying?
just going. Hey, I was at late night trying to get some snacks.
Get some grub, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was a weeknight, and my phone rang, and it was Coach Painter. But he was actually talking to me about some of the things that we did for Braden High School and getting him to score. But he was letting me know, like, hey, I'm trying to get Braden to shoot and to be more assertive as a scorer, and I'm not able to get him to do that. So I think that's one thing that Braden has done better this year is he's scoring. He had 19 the other night against IU, and I think that's changed a lot of things because people have a hard time guarding that high ball screen because Braden's knocking down shots now.
Yeah, I think so too. I think people are. Last year they went under a little bit. I don't think they're going.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going under now because he can step back and make that shot. And I think it's a matter of time now before he gets a triple double because he's always tracking down long rebounds, and so the fact that he'll get double-digit rebounds wouldn't surprise me. And then his assist. I mean, he's a great passer. So I think it's a matter of time before he starts getting some triple doubles.
No, he was a great rebounder in high school, and Braden's one of the best high school passers that I've ever been around. I told Coach Painter when he called me the very first time ago, I don't know that I've seen a better passer in high school. Obviously, Conley was right up there, but as far as in Indiana being able to pass the ball, I just never seen anything like Braden, and I think the whole country is taken aware of how good he really is, and he was very much under recruited in high school until Purdue came on very late.
Yeah, and so let's talk about this recent team now, man. 16-2, and I mean, Pat and I were talking about this. Obviously, Westfield's got to be a great place because, I mean, like Olden, Conley, a lot of those players moving into Lawrence North. Players are moving into Westfield now, man. You get a 6'8" kid from New Zealand. So how was your recruiting budget that you could go out to New Zealand and get this kid from New Zealand, man?
I'll tell you, I wish we did have a recruiting budget, man. That'd be nice. But no, you're right. I mean, like I said, Westfield's a growing area, and we've got a basketball tradition now. But his sister played at Fresno State and ended up getting a job with the Pacers. And he was at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia last year. And then he ended up moving with his sister here to Indiana when she got a job with the Pacers right out of college. So we were just kind of fortunate. Like I said, you got to build a tradition, and we're lucky to have the basketball program that we do. And but Nick Book's his name, and he's a 6'8" senior for us, and certainly one of our better players this year. Yeah,
and you're also playing Trey Buchanan, whose dad is the GM of the Pacers, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Chad Buchanan. Trey moved into Westfield as a 7th grader. I think they were at Portland before when Chad was with the Trailblazers, and they moved in as a 7th grader. So Trey's been with us for a while. He was a varsity player as a sophomore and played behind Braden Smith as a point guard. So he kind of backed up Braden as a sophomore. And then I think Trey took a lot of people by surprise last year because a lot of people thought we were going to take a huge step back last year. And we won 16 or 17 games last year, and Trey had a tremendous junior year. But he's a really good player. He's definitely one of our leaders. He's had a tremendous career.
So it's 16-2. You got University, you got Franklin Central, you got Pike. So you're going to end up 19-2 heading into your sectional. And I know Pat does a lot of work with strength of schedules and sectional opponents. Who do you have in that sectional, Pat?
Well, Shane, hey, it's good to hear from you. You might remember I was coaching at South Bend Adams back when you were probably sitting on the bench with Heck.
I remember that. Yeah, you guys came to the Wigwam and we had a special event, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
That was one of Heck's organ donation nights.
Yeah. And South Bend Adams beats us. I mean, they beat us.
What? I didn't read the script.
Where you were supposed to beat us?
He gave me a script that said keep it closed. So the people won't leave early, and then make sure we win at the end. Well, they threw the ball away a couple of times, and
we forgot to tell Michael Bush the script. Yeah, because Michael Bush was your really good guard, man.
So one thing led to another. But hey, speaking of sectionals, my goodness gracious, the sectional you guys have. I mean, it's a state tournament all rolled into one right there in that 1 week, and everybody knows that. But I grew up in the Wigwam in the 70s, and that's how it was the state final. The Wigwam was the state finals. I think my senior year we had 4 teams in the top 20 at the Wigwam. So, and you guys see that every week. I mean, you've got 4 of the top 10 right there in your sectional.
Well, we got one. The new polls came out today. Fishers 1, Noblesville 2, and us 3. So you got 1, 2, and 3 in the same sectional.
Yes.
And it's like that every year. And I know I'm a little bit biased, but sectional 8, as far as a 4A sectional, I just don't know that there's anything like it. It's just it's a meat grinder to get out of it. There's no easy draw. When everybody always asks me, hey, who do you want to draw? I'll take the bye. It's one less game that you have to play, because it's not like you can draw somebody that's an easy team. I mean, you look at those 3 teams I just said, and then you also throw Carmel in there, and you can never count Carmel out. Well, they just knocked off Fishers. They knocked off Lawrence North last week. So you can never count out Carmel, and they're supposedly a down year. So you got 1, 2, and 3, and then Carmel and HSE's good. Zionsville's good. It's just a really tough sectional. But you're right. When I talk to people about the old Wigwam days, I tell them, like, this is the way the Wigwam used to be, when you had Highland, Anderson, Madison Heights, and then the county teams were good.
Yeah, you think exactly. LaPel or Alexandria, one of them was always in the top 20.
Yeah, you had Garth Cohn's teams and Frankton and LaPel. All the county teams were good as well. So, the Wigwam days, I mean, as far as the sectional, that's kind of what this reminds me of.
Yeah, so speaking of the Wigwam days, I'd be remiss if I did not bring this up, as you're a great guard your senior year for Frankton, and we're playing in the sectional championship game now for Frankton and Anderson, and it's a dogfight. It's a close game, and we score. And we're not pressing, and you're bringing the ball up the court, and you veer towards Coach Bockert, because he's calling the play for you. You stand there, he's telling you the play, and then you advance it back up. And before you get to the 10-second line, they call a 10-second violation on you.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Right?
Well, I'll tell you how close the game was. I believe it went double overtime. It was at least overtime, if not double overtime. But yeah, I still remember that. I was walking the ball up with no pressure, and all of a sudden I'm getting to the end, and there was a whistle, and I thought somebody threw something on the floor. I didn't know what was going on, but all of a sudden it was the infamous 10-second call, Coach, that we talked about for many years.
Well, and we watched it. I mean, we counted it down. We watched it.
Well, I mean, I think you counted fast.
Well, what we get to 7? What we get to 7?
Maybe.
I think we got to 7.5, maybe. Yeah,
and that was
got the old tape.
That was a big point in the game then, because the turnover allowed us to go down and score. And you and I have gone round and round, but I will say this, even as you were, a young coach just out of Anderson University. I mean, you had a great intellect for the game. You had a great passion for the game, and to say that I could have predicted this success for you, I almost surely could have predicted it, because of the knowledge, of the passion, and of your ability to relate to young kids, man.
Well, I really appreciate that. I enjoyed every second coaching at the Wigwam with you. And like I said, you're definitely one of my mentors. And we had a great time there. And I cherish those moments at the Wigwam and playing there and coaching. And certainly that was a great time in my life.
Well, and we also cherish those Jimmy Buffett concerts, right?
We did, yeah. We were a couple Buffett concerts. That's right.
Yeah, and that's a bad deal now, because we can't go. But I digress, and I want to say good luck to you. The draw's coming out next week, and I know you'll have your guys ready. They'll be ready to play, and we'll be looking at your scores and rooting for you all the time, big boy.
Well, hey, I appreciate you having me on. It's always great to catch up with you, but thank you for having me on.
All right, Pat, you got anything for him?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to your sectional. I know you might be looking forward to the sectional, but I always look forward to seeing the scores for that sectional down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, tough one. Well, thank you guys. You guys doing a great job, and enjoy listening to you guys.
Hey, say hi to your family for me, and if I didn't give your son a little shout out, Logan is a freshman on the JV team. he's getting a little clock on the varsity, man. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, he got in the other night. Yeah, we had a big lead, so he got in a little bit. So he was really pumped up about that. So
when you get home,
sure.
does your lovely wife say, "Shane, man, get the boy in the game. Come on, man."
She always gives me that look, trying to say, "Hey, is he dressing? Is he gonna get in?" Or I always get that look for sure.
Hey, that's really cool, man. Good luck to you the rest of the way, buddy.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks,
all right,
Shane.
that is the great Shane Sumter, and I knew early on, and you've had assistant coaches,
Sure,
that you knew early on could be really special.
Yes.
By the way that they knew the game, by the way they communicated the game, the extra time they would come in and work with players. Shane would bring guards in at 6 a.m. in the morning, and he'd say, "Heck, can I bring these guys in?" I said, "Sure, man." And he'd work on high ball screens, and I mean, Shane was outstanding, and he's doing just a wonderful job now in the allures of high school basketball in the state.
And you're mentioning things with him where he came up with you as his mentor, and I'm thinking back to when Jimmy Shannon grew up. The stories he was telling us about, when he grew up in the '80s, coming out of high school and college, and he sat on the bench with Coach Norm Held there at Anderson and got his first start before he went down to North Decatur and then moved on, and it's just he's now retired and doing the things that we're doing.
Yeah, no, Jimmy's
just their tracks seem like they're so similar. He mentioned his son playing, and it kind of brought back something. We're talking about the memory. Scott, who's on here right now, I'm thinking that we might be an answer to a trivia question, because we had 3 generations of Kings that played in the Wigwam.
Yeah, no, that had to be so cool.
I don't know if Scott played about 7 seconds of that ball game, but he was a freshman that year and had been playing JV, and it was a varsity only game. And I even asked the guys, I said, "Hey, can Scott come sit on the bench and we see if we can get him in for 30 seconds?" And I told him exactly why, and we did. So my dad played there in the 40s.
And your dad was at that game, right?
Yeah,
watching Scott get in on the court.
Yeah, he was there, and we got a picture of all 3 of us there in front of the stage and stuff like that. So, but Dad played in the old Wigwam across the street, and then I sat there and watched them build the new one.
Yeah, that whole story is amazing. And you talk about Jimmy Shannon. Jimmy Shannon had called me, and he said, "Hey, heck," he said, "can we play a series, because I want my son to play in the Wigwam?"
Sure.
And I said, just like I probably said to you, I said, "Jimmy, how good you going to be?" He said, "We ain't gonna be that good, man." He said, I want my son to come in, and I want him to get a chance to play in the Wigwam." And so I said, "Yeah, man, let's schedule this game."
So how bad did he beat you?
They were number 1 in the state.
Yeah, exactly.
They were number 1 in the state.
Had that. That's backfired a couple times. No, hadn't it?
Had that big post player, Donnie Hale. Remember him, 6'7". As a matter of fact, speaking of Purdue, he played at Purdue.
Yes.
And but that's my fault. That's my fault for not doing research. But I would certainly have done that again for Jimmy. I mean, just for the fact of his kid wanted to play on the Wigwam court.
I agree.
Hey, listen, let's hit our sponsors a little bit here.
And hit it running here too.
Yeah, Tony Letcher at Health Markets Insurance. They're the best, man. Medicare, anything you need, the price is right. Get a hold of Tony at 574-307-8882 or visit him at his website at tletcher.com. Hahn Funeral Home, located at 505 West 8th Street in downtown Mish. You can call us anytime at 574-255-1474 or stop in to get any answers on any questions you might have at a very, very difficult time in your life. So obviously the Black Sedan Band, you got a Frick's Game of the Week we got to do here, big boy.
I do. Scott, why don't you run our
Where's our car?
You can call the people down at Frick's and drive. Matter of fact, I am driving Wednesday and Thursday this week. So they are still looking for people. They're always hiring people that are interested in getting their driver's ed certificate. We need adult drivers. I am the youngest one down there that's a driving instructor.
Sir, can the other guy see?
I'm the youngest one. That's all I'm saying.
See, and you're 68.
Oh, stop it. Yes, I am.
And you're the youngest, and you're the pup.
I'm the youngest. But those other guys don't do anything else. That's their
They
only.
fall asleep and say,
That's their only job.
no, they say, drive me to Sonic's, man.
That's our.
Drive
that's
me to
kind of our
Sonic
joke.
and get a shake.
That is one of our jokes. Is that if they get a good drive, they say, "Yeah, I can take a nap on this one."
That's amazing.
So
Let's go to
You want to
Pablo.
hear something? You want to hear something funny about learning to operate motor vehicles? So when I was at Purdue doing a flying exam, my examiner fell asleep.
And you're in the plane
you're
flying.
the plane. So
I guess that means I was doing a pretty good job.
you were unofficially soloing, right?
That's absolutely hilarious. Hey, you want to wake up? How am I doing?
Yeah. What's this?
What's this light mean?
What's this lever for?
It's like that.
amazing.
It's like that quip between two pilots that you hear as a joke sometimes. Like, hey, don't let me wake up to find you sleeping.
Yeah. Autopilot is a great thing.
Hey, can you give us our Purdue segment, man, so we can jump into that, man?
Here,
Oh
let
wait, who was the road team of the week?
Oh no, my bad. I need Magic Mind.
I have 3 road teams this week that we. and
Hey, the
and I-
segment did so well last week. Heck is just so excited to talk
Yes.
about Purdue.
I
But
do.
first things first.
highlight
I
of
have a
the
great topic too.
That's right. So my road teams of the week. One's high school. And I
Yes.
need your help. Up here in the northern part of the state, Mishawaka had a huge game at Northwood last week and won that game 40-32, and it put them first place in the conference.
Well,
Tell me about that.
It put them first place alone in the conference now, and obviously going to Northwood, playing there is always really tough. Defensively, they were amazing. I did not work that game, but to give up 32 points to an Aaron Wolf coach team is really, really good. Now they control their own destiny from the standpoint of whether they can win the conference outright. They go to Wawasee to play next week, I believe, and if they win that, they win the conference outright. So just a huge win at Northwood. Concord lost at North Ridge. So now at the top of that league, Mish is 5-1. Bodie Bender's just a great coach, and Concord at 5-2.
So it looks like they've got some non-conference games tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night they play at Adams, but the only conference game they got left is
And then
Wawasee.
they've got Wawasee.
And then they have Penn and St. Joe the last week.
Yep. So they've got a few games. You're right. The conference game, they've got one left.
Yeah, I mean, they can either win the conference outright, or if they would lose the Wawasee game to Sweet Lou, then they would tie for
And
the
that
conference.
looks like that's the last game because everybody else has already played.
Yeah,
7
that is the
games.
last game because that was a rescheduled game.
Right.
So that's a great road win. Who else you got, man?
So, all right, that was Friday night. Saturday afternoon, college men. Gonzaga goes into Rupp Arena and beats Kentucky 89-85, 18-6 Gonzaga. Non-conference game, but a good Saturday afternoon international, whatever you call that, interdivisional.
Yeah.
And what the big factor about Kentucky, that's their 3rd
Home loss
in a row. And that's the first time ever that they've lost 3 in a row since they opened Rupp Arena in 1976.
And I don't know, just a few years ago, John Calipari and Kentucky were the flavor of the month because John Calipari would take all of the rising and the best freshmen. They would be the one and dones. And they would play in Kentucky for a year and then go to the league. And John Calipari and the Wildcats have kind of fallen on hard times a little bit now.
That 10-year period, the 2010s were like that. And Duke was like that too, if you think about it. And then COVID hit. And now you got guys that are 6- and 7-year players and throw a little NIL money in on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are in no hurry to leave. What was the Timmy from Gonzaga? Remember how good he was? He was there for 4 or 5 years. And it was like player of the year for
Richardson too.
No, he's from Richardson, Texas. He went to J.J. Pierce.
And so my line always plays well there. 3 hots in a cot.
Yeah.
You're getting 3 hots in a cot.
And
now you're getting cash. Now you got and now you got your chicks.
And
I'm staying on campus with my chicks, 3 hots in a cot, and I got cash.
And
why leave?
And Timmy's no fool because he goes to the pros. He's in the G. He was like MVP player of the week in the G League right now.
Making
the Bucks D League team.
Yeah, and riding around on the back of a Trailways bus.
Yeah, no, exactly. Who's your third?
All right, so my third team.
Hey, question for you before you move on. Do you think John Calipari has been overall a success at Kentucky? He's won one national championship. He's signed like the #1 recruiting class pretty much almost every year. But to have all that talent on your roster and only win one national title with, generational player like Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and that group, what would you say if has Cal been a success overall, or do you think it's been a failure?
Well, so I would answer that like this: the one and dones were great for a while, but they were playing in the NCAA tournament against teams that had third and fourth year players. And now I don't care
when they got beat, that's who beat them.
Yeah, and I don't care where those kids were rated, what number they were rated, what service they were rated in, but they were third and fourth year players, and they were experienced players.
Well, you think about the 2015 team, I think, with Trey Lyles from Tech and Julius Randle and that group, they were 35-0, and then lose to Wisconsin in the Final Four.
Yeah, they had 6 first-round picks.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, I wouldn't put them in that category. I just think the parity of college basketball. Now to answer your question, is Cal a success? Yeah, I think he's a success because to win the national championship is tough. And to repeat that is even tougher.
If you were to start a program tomorrow from scratch, would you rather have Cal or Jay Wright or Tony Bennett?
The singer Tony Bennett, who put on a concert with Lady Gaga when he was 90.
I don't think he's alive.
No, he just passed.
Are you going to get hologram Tony Bennett?
Yeah, no, I mean Tony Bennett is a freaking great. You give Tony Bennett a little bit of talent, he coaches his brains out.
Throw that pack line defense.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can answer that, but I will say all three of those guys are really, really, really good coaches, and I think that I wouldn't mind starting a program with either one of those guys.
Yeah, and that's one thing. You people that are listening at home, Scott, you can help me out. If you're on YouTube right now, you can just go right to the comments and you can give us your opinion about.
Leave a comment in the chat or text me. Text me at 214-945-4134.
All right,
here's the prompt for everybody. If you're starting a college basketball program, would you rather have John Calipari, Jay Wright, or Tony Bennett as your coach?
Yeah, leave us a note. Yes. Last one, yesterday before the Super Bowl. I'm going to girls basketball now, women's basketball.
Iowa.
Iowa got beat they got beat at Nebraska.
Right? Yes.
That was a big ball game.
Yeah, because Caitlin Clark is fixing to break the all-time scoring record for the females.
She is. And she's on a good team, a team that could be, very likely a Final Four team. One of the big game in the ACC, I'm going to go with the local girls, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's women went down to Tallahassee, and it was interesting to watch the game because it was a pink game. They had all the cancer jerseys. And Notre Dame had white uniforms with pink lettering that said Irish on it. And Florida State was in all pink uniforms. There was no maroon. There was no maroon. There was no blue and gold, no green and gold, no nothing. It was all pink and white. But Notre Dame in overtime, 98-94, Notre Dame had 4 in double figures. Hannah Hidalgo, the good freshman, had 27. Anna DeWolf had 24. They were behind. It was a come from behind game on the road. So those are my 3 Frick's road teams of the week. Mishawaka at the high school. You've got
Magic Mind.
Gonzaga.
Come on.
You got Gonzaga and
at Kentucky
against Kentucky. Yes,
and Notre Dame.
Pictures. Notre Dame's women.
Notre Dame, man, give me that. My Purdue. Heck, be nice to Purdue. Oh man, he's not just tall; he can shoot 3. So that is my be nice to Purdue because Purdue just manhandled Indiana and just played really well. As we heard Shane Sumter talk, Braden Smith goes for 19, but Zach Edey comes out late in the game. They run a little pick and pop, and usually with Zach Edey, it's going to be a pick and a roll to the basket, and they're going to throw it up. But this time he picks and he pops back out at the top of the key for a deep 3. they get it back to him, and he knocks in the three.
He banked it in, didn't he?
Yeah, and
Oh,
the
dear.
place goes crazy. And the shot, when it came out of his hand, is formed to look really, really good. And I say, if we can get Coach Painter on here sometime, I say that you got to let him take a couple of those, maybe one of those a game, and pick and pop him, because it opens the lane for everybody else. And just the fact that he might take one and make one, honors that guy having to guard him and maybe step up a little bit.
And it's going to make him more marketable in the pros too.
Without question, because every big in the pros, with the exception maybe Andre Drummond or some of the older guys, but Vooch for the Bulls, he can pop, he can make a three. But I thought that was really, really, and people laughed about it because they've never seen him do that before. I didn't laugh about it. I thought about it from purely a basketball standpoint and purely a standpoint for Purdue, because he's always in the paint. He's always clogging it. He's always in the post. Let him pop. Let him pop. Let him shoot 100 of these a day in practice. Let him pop and maybe look to take one. Now, I know the pundits of that statement will say, "Are you crazy, man? He'll get the ball in the post and score 80% of the time." Yeah, but I think it just helps his game.
It's going to pull people out.
It's going to pull people out a little bit.
Sure it is.
And I looked at that from purely a technical standpoint, and I simply say, bravo. Bravo, Zach. Way to take it.
It's funny because, what that kind of reminded me of in the time of the game, and I saw the highlights of it. I was actually at that girls' regional, so I didn't see any of the ball game. But the highlights, it reminded me of when like the walk-ons get in the game at the end of the game.
Yes.
Scout teamers, and one of them gets a basket, and the whole bench goes crazy.
Yeah.
Well, who's a walk-on at Purdue is Konzo Martin's son.
I saw that. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see that. Konzo Martin was just a tough player. But here's the stat. So, before the game started, Zach Edey scored 2,065 career points without a three. without a three. Now he's got a three. And I say, let him do that every now and then. And obviously, if the game's tied, you can't let him do it. But let him do it early in the game. Some of those shots early in the game, some of those, you're not going to get pulled for taking a shot early in the game, or maybe a shot clock shot. Right. Let him pick, pop, and get it to him. Let him take it. Well, but then going to the game, 79-59, and Purdue 22-2, 11-2 in the league. IU 14-10, 6-7.
Purdue's 2.5 games ahead of Illinois.
Yeah,
with what, 5 to play or 7?
Well, yeah, because Wisconsin has lost 4 in a row.
Yeah,
the Badgers have lost 4 in a row. Purdue's in great shape. IU is not in great shape, and this is talk about Purdue.
Let's talk about the red shirts for a little bit.
But the red shirts, I don't know. I don't know which direction the red shirts are trending in, but I don't think they're trending in the right direction. To be honest with you,
is it fixable? I guess is the next question.
Well, and I don't know that question either, because I'm not at practice. I'm not in the meetings. I'm not in the post game, talks after the game, because in a lot of those, in my own personal situation, and maybe in your own personal situation, those weren't talks after the game. Those were rants, because I always wanted people to know, man, we ain't playing this game for no other reason than to come out here and win. And if you do what we do every day in practice, because to me, practice is 10 times harder than what a game should be, right?
Exactly.
And if we do what we do in practice on a game night, then we'll be in great shape. But here's one thing I want to throw at you. And I saw this. I think when coaches are coaching, could be Matt Painter, could be Mike Woodson, could be John Calipari, could be anybody, could be Pat King, could be Heck. When your team is winning, when your team's winning, you're up there, man. You're cheering your guy. Nice job, man. Great screen. Get back, blah, blah. Get on the help side, blah, blah, blah. When your team's not playing well and when your team is losing, how, as a coach, do you handle that? Do you sit on the bench and act like you're pouting?
Right.
Or are you up coaching your brains out? Because in the way I think your team needs you much more when they're not playing well.
That's funny. I must have been needed a lot because all I remember is I was walking the sideline a lot.
Well, and I say that because I watched Mike Woodson, and I'm not down on Woody, man. I'm not cracking on Woody. I'm not saying this is. I'm saying I see a lot of coaches, but this brought this to my attention. Woody was just sitting on the bench, man, sitting on the bench staring, and his guys are getting beat by 20. And you got to be coaching your brains out, man.
It's like
Are you kidding me?
The pro coaches sit there. A lot of them don't walk the court as much as the college
Yeah, I'm just saying that's when they need your help. Hey, get on the help side. Hey, get up here and show. Come on, show.
Izzo's going to be walking up and down the court. That's for sure.
Yeah, and so that was just a bad. So that was a bad vibe for me to watch.
Like he'd given up almost.
Yeah, but it's not. But I mean, a lot of young coaches, and I don't know, and maybe that doesn't bother a lot of coaches. I don't know, but I'm old school. I would say you're old school.
There's some guys
that did bother me.
There's some guys that are game coaches, and there's some guys that are practice coaches, and some of them don't make adjustments very well. But you would think with his pro experience that he would be able to make those game time adjustments, as would the assistant coaches as well.
Are we totally sure that his pro experience was beneficial though? Because I'm looking at basketballreference.com. His pro winning percentage is .463. He's a sub 500 NBA coach. The only reason he even had a chance was because he had LeBron in Cleveland for a lot of it, and he had Carmelo in New York with the Knicks.
And people have said that his team at IU resembles his pro teams with the Knicks.
Well, yeah, because when you're coaching professional players, they're men.
Yes.
And even if they're one and done guys in college, you almost treat them like men because they're around men every day in practice. College guys
are 18 or 19.
Yeah, they ain't men yet, man. They need to be coached.
Yes.
They need to be, hey, man, you ain't doing this right. Get on the line and give me 5 suicides. Now, you're going to tell, hey, Carmelo, give me 5 suicides.
Yeah.
Carmelo going to say, let me call my agent.
Yeah, he's going to make – well, he makes more money than the coach.
Yeah, let me call my agent and see if I should do this. As opposed to saying, get your ass on the line and give me 5 suicides until you learn how to show on a ball screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you learn how to show, then you can stop running.
Right.
Or to be able to tell and coach a kid and say, I mean, some kids you can get flat in their face.
Right.
Other kids, you got to go, hey, man, come here.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't doing this right, but come here.
But we're going to, the warm and fuzzy stuff.
Yeah, we're going to work on doing this. I mean, I remember I'm at Manchester College, man. And so I went to a smaller school to be the big fish. And Manchester was great, man.
Exactly.
But my first year, my coach was a Brethren minister, the great Claude Wolf. He's a Brethren minister. Okay, so there ain't no cussing. There ain't no screaming at practice. But I would make the same mistake 3 times. He'd say, hey, and our assistant coach was Carl Merritt. He'd say, hey, Carl, take Ronnie on the side and let him do he throws up. Well, I said, Coach, listen, I give you permission. You can cuss at me.
Yeah,
God ain't gonna be mad. You can scream at me, but I'm not sure how much God likes me to be throwing up over here. So there are just different ways to do it. But and I wish him the best. I mean, just a great. But I just don't see it happening. And then I see the pro. Matt Painter.
Mm-hmm.
Matt been doing it for a long time.
Things are going well for them.
And they have been, with the exception of
tournament time. So that's what I was getting ready to say. As we get closer to March, people are going to start talking about Purdue. Can they do this? Can they take that next step and and progress down the line in the tournament.
Yeah, but I don't think Matt runs from that. I think he acknowledges, man, we got to be able to shoot a little bit better. So I got to recruit some guys that can shoot a little better.
Well,
and he's got to be able to say, Braden and Fletcher, man, you guys are a year older now.
He brought that transfer in from Southern Illinois that had.
I think that's going to be the thing is if Purdue can make the Final Four, it's going to be because of Lance Jones.
Lance Jones is the key to that.
Yeah, as a fifth-year guy, and he was a scorer at Southern Illinois.
Exactly.
So, like last year, Purdue obviously had very obvious flaws that when you stuff the lane on Zach Edey, the two freshmen were kind of afraid to shoot. Now this year, you've got a guy like Lance Jones that has the green light. He will shoot you out of a slump. And Mason Gillis has been huge too. I think he's behind Jamison Battle from Ohio State as the number 1 and 2 3-point percentage guys in the conference. So
I mean, I don't think that the young freshmen were afraid to shoot. I think they just got wore down mentally and physically at the end.
Yeah. Hey, before you go,
I ain't going because I got another thing to say.
Okay.
College football.
Well, I was going to tell you right now within the Big Ten, if the Big Ten tournament started right now, the teams that would get the double bye, the top 4 teams right now are Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Northwestern. They wouldn't have to play till Friday. So they'd get the double bye. And then the next ones are Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Penn State. Wouldn't have to play till Thursday. And then the rest of them would have to play. The other 6 would have to play on Wednesday to get to Thursday and to get to Friday.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. And one of those teams
every game.
And one of those teams can say, yeah, we're not playing for first place, but you are playing for seeding. Mm-hmm. You are playing for seeding. College football. The SEC distributed $51.3 million to all of its 14 schools. The 53
times 14?
$51.3 million
times
to each school. So $741 million divided by 14.
Not divided by 15.
Divided by 14. $51.3 million for each school in the SEC. Second only to the Big Ten, who each school got $58.8 million from the conference. Now, you know where this is all coming from. TV revenue.
The Big Ten Network and Peacock.
And the tournament distributions, because you get so much money for going to the tournament, and you have to split half of that with your conference, and then the other half goes to your school. So I mean, people that say that it ain't about money, are you kidding me?
That's all it's about.
Well,
that's all it's about.
And Scott, you mentioned.
And then the new thing with the Big Ten for football is CBS is dumping the SEC.
Yeah.
And ESPN, and I think ESPN is just going to be the sole provider of SEC because ESPN owns the SEC network. And so the Big Ten will be with Fox, CBS, and NBC / Peacock.
That 3:30 game on Saturdays will now be a Big Ten game.
Correct.
On CBS.
Yeah, so it is about money. And Pete Bell had it right. Neon didn't want a car. It's always about money, but it was money under the table. Pitchers and catchers.
I wrote some stuff down about baseball.
Pitchers and catchers this week. 4 Scott Boras clients that are not signed. Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. Scott Boras wants to get him a certain amount. There he is, Texas Rangers. They ain't Jordan Montgomery. But Scott Boras says you ain't signing unless you get X amount of dollars. And the players are controlled by Scott Boras, because I know Cody Bellinger wants to go to Chicago, but Scott Boras wants to get him $200 million, north of $200 million.
Ooh, for what,
and the
years?
Cubbies,
5 years?
Yeah, and the Cubbies will say, I don't know, I'll give you $150 for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So pitchers and catchers, man, they're excited.
I know it. Scott, you got any questions? You had a couple of questions earlier.
Yeah, so I had. We don't have any more comments from the YouTube chat, so I guess my open-ended question kind of fell on deaf ears, but that's all right. I'll put it on the YouTube video when I publish it later.
Okay.
But I did get 2 texts during the week. Who do you want to hear from first? Do you want to hear from our guy in Columbus about Chris Holtman, or do you want to talk about that TV show?
Yeah, no, let's talk about TV show, The White Shadow, man. You kidding me?
So I got a question from the 443, which is in Baltimore, who discovered our channel from the very popular segment about Purdue, where the producer destroys Indiana fan with facts and logic. So if you're watching us on YouTube and you're not subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see all this stuff and get our numbers going up. We had last I checked, we were at like 2,650 views on that YouTube segment from last week. So that's awesome.
We hit the big
That's
time.
beyond what I thought we were going to get. I thought when I saw the number and I thought it would get to like 200 throughout the week, I thought that'd be great, but we're pushing 3,000. So that's awesome. So from one of our new watchers,
Good job, big boy.
yeah, great job, guys.
What we do.
From one of our new watchers, he says,
somebody actually believed it too.
Yeah.
He says,
go
any
ahead.
chance you guys could ever discuss the White Shadow TV series, maybe even an episode on it and your takes or memories, etc., or locate Tim Van Patten, aka Salami, and see about an interview appearance. Anyhow, show some love for Coach Reeves. Quinn Buckner ain't no Kenny Reeves, because we were talking about Quinn Buckner was instrumental in hiring Woody at IU.
Right, we did.
Yeah, so I do remember watching the show. I would love I would love to talk about this next week and go back and maybe watch a couple of the episodes, because I do
think that'd be a fun off-season thing to do, like in the dog days of the summer. Just do a rewatchable series where you guys watch one episode a week and then come on here and talk about it.
Is that we have to advertise what?
Yeah,
Me TV or My TV?
That's Me TV, but you could, I mean, you get any episode on YouTube, but I do remember it, and I used to watch it all the time. And I think the coach coached at an inner city high school, and it was just episodes where there would be problems, and he would coach them up. And I thought it was a great show.
Mostly off the court stuff. The game itself was like a minor part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's real life stuff. Yeah. It's real life stuff that we faced.
You guys can relate to that quite a bit, being at the schools you were at for so long, where at some points you were the only white guys on the team.
Yeah, no, and it was
sometimes the only white guy in the gym.
Yeah, and
I was there for a lot of them.
It was just a deal where as a coach we wore a lot of hats. We wore a coaching hat, Chicago Bear coaching hat. We wore a counselor hat. We wore a parent hat. We wore a friend hat to some of those kids. We wore a disciplinary hat to some of those kids. And it wasn't just about coaching basketball. And then today, all those years later, and I know you do too, I get text, I get phone calls, I get, hey coach, man, just wanted to hear your voice, man. Thanks for all the things you did for us. Hey coach, I got this issue, man. Can you help me out with this? And it's all those things that we imparted on those kids many years ago that really had nothing to do with V-cuts or post feeds or anything. It was life.
I agree. And Scott, you'd appreciate this. I posted something on the Instagram thing about the guy from the Mavericks that threw that half court behind the back pass this week. And one of your former teammates down at Madison, Nick Macon, made a comment about that, saying, I'm going to try that pass. And I commented back to him. I said, and you'll be heading for the bench at the next buzzer like that. And then he commented back, says, yep, I can already hear you saying, you got too much mustard on that hot dog.
But here's the question. What if the pass was successful and it led to a run-out layup and you won the game?
He still set his ass.
No.
Yes. Nice shot. Good pass, man.
One of those Maravich situations.
Yeah. Well, what's your other question, man?
Well, hey, you just brought up a really good point about Pete Maravich and Zach Edey pushing into the top of Purdue's all-time scorers. Can we appreciate a little bit how prolific of a scorer Zach Edey has been without shooting threes in his career? Because you look at the top four of Purdue's all-time scoring list, it's Rick Mount, who did it without a three-point line, Joe Barry Carroll, and Eachwan Moore, and then Zach Edey.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I didn't know Eachwan Moore was that high up there.
He's number 3.
Really?
No, and that just, I mean, that's Matt Painter saying we're running offense through Zach Edey.
Old school basketball.
We're running offense through him now. Whether he shoots it or whether he commands a double and then he kicks it and we go 2 passes around for a good look at a shot, offense is going through Zach Edey. And I often wonder when I watch the games or do games why coaches don't take their best player and say, we're going to run offense through you. That doesn't mean you're shooting every time, but when you get the ball, the defense will react a certain way, and now you can make a play to get somebody else open. That's a great testament to Coach Painter and his staff and his big man coach and all that in running offense through him.
And he's had a couple.
And you think about how unreal the scoring prowess of somebody like Pete Maravich was, or Rick Mount for that matter, to do it without a 3-point line and to do it where they weren't allowed to play varsity sports as freshmen back then. Because I see the graphics of Caitlin Clark getting ready to pass Kelsey Plum for the all-time women's points lead, and some of the graphics include Pete Maravich on there too. And it's just a world of Pete Maravich is in a world of his own, even with Antoine Davis getting close. Last year, I think it was for Pistol Pete to do it in 3 years without a 3-point line. Somebody may break the record, but I think a lot of people are gonna kind of think of Pete Maravich's scoring record, kind of like Hank Aaron's home run record, where
your number of games played.
Yeah, the number may be eclipsed, but the fashion in which it was done, I don't think will ever be done again.
Well, and we grew up watching Pete Maravich.
Sure we did.
And his dad, Press Maravich, was his coach.
Tried to imitate him.
Yeah, and the floppy socks, the long hair. If you really study his games, he was just a great individual basketball player. He could shoot it, could get to the rack, and could just make plays.
And one of the guys that I grew up watching play there in Anderson, Jerry Shockey, played at Madison Heights with Jimmy Reginald. He went to LSU. He played with Maravich.
Wow, it's amazing.
So we heard stories about that too.
Last question, Scott.
All right, we could go on about that all day. So we'll get to the last one. This comes from Bill in Columbus. He says, with Chris Holtman's recent struggles at Ohio State, what's your guys' opinion on firing coaches in the middle of the season? Who would be some hot names to replace him? And is Ohio State a destination job for a basketball coach?
It kind of falls into that same deal with Notre Dame, because Ohio State's a great football school, and Notre Dame is too. And listen, you're the basketball coach. Just don't get in trouble.
Right.
Just don't bring any bad recognition to us. But I think Ohio State is more, because the Big Ten in basketball is a conference, and they're a part of that. Notre Dame doesn't have a conference in basketball, so I don't think that they would replace him mid-season. But it wouldn't surprise me that if they didn't replace him, though, because it's been a couple of years now. I think his conference record, maybe the last 2 years, is maybe 5-20 or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's really bad.
And one thing we talked about earlier too was Ohio State's going through a transition with athletic directors. Is that right?
Yeah. So Gene Smith, the current AD, is retiring at the end of June. Ross Bjork, who was the AD at Texas A&M, has already been named as his replacement. Ohio State also has a new university president in Ted Carter, who is a retired 4-star Navy admiral, who is replacing Christina Johnson as the university president. So there's a lot of turnover in the athletic department. So I think it'll be interesting to see, because there is no loyalty to any of the coaching staff within the athletic department, who stays and who goes. Because I had mentioned this before we even started, that men's basketball and football are the only two profitable sports at Ohio State. I think football made like $50 million last year, and basketball made like 10.
They got $58 million from the Big Ten Conference. So
right, but and the thing too with Ohio State basketball is, all due respect to Notre Dame, they're in two different classes of football dominated schools, because obviously football is king at Ohio State, but I mean the basketball program's been to Final Fours, they've been to national title games, they've had dudes in the past. I mean John Havlicek, Bob Knight,
Greg Oden, Mike Conley,
Mike Conley, Mark Titus.
Yes,
jump a couple
Mark
generations.
Titus from Brownsburg, yeah.
But the timing is bad for making changes, because those new people aren't coming in until summer, right? So if you're going to make a change in the coaching, you're going to do that in March. So because of that,
But the AD wouldn't have retired yet. So
exactly.
do
So,
you-
so they're
my
not
guess
going to make
is
the change.
They're not going to. That conversation is going to happen a year from now.
Yeah, and I mean, buyouts and all that stuff is always included, but I'm not sure with money at Ohio State if that's a problem. Hey, one last thing before we go.
We've got another local team in the
one-
state doing well.
One more last thing on that question. Who would you get to replace him? Would you call Jay Wright, or would you? I mean, you basically have a blank check from anybody. Who are you calling?
I mean, I think all those guys like Jay Wright that have been out of the game, and if the money won't matter because the money's going to be big. You got a guy like Dusty May, who we always talk about at Florida Atlantic, who we would think would come up and maybe be a great guy at IU. But there's just a plethora of great young. I mean, Chris Holtman was a great young coach. Spent a couple of years at Butler. I mean, didn't have a long coaching life. Spent a couple of years at Butler and then goes to Ohio State and has a great run at Ohio State. He's just down on his luck. I don't know if it's players. I don't know if things just aren't going right. But he was not an established coach. And so I think there's just a ton of guys like that. As a matter of fact, you might go to Terre Haute and you may get the coach at Terre Haute. They're 22-3. 11-1 in the Valley. They're ranked 23rd in the country, and it's the first time since the Larry Bird era that they've been ranked in the top 25 in the country. So shout out to the Indiana State Sycamore. We'll follow them a little bit more here as we get down to the NCAA.
They've got a 2-game lead on Drake and 4-game lead on Bradley. I mean, they are leading the conference.
In the Valley, typically, unless it's a powerful Valley league, is a one school in, because Wichita State had great runs, and if they didn't win the Valley tournament, they weren't getting in. So we'll follow Indiana State here.
So the new poll came out today. UConn is 1, Purdue is 2, Houston 3, Marquette is 4. And I mentioned Marquette because tomorrow night I'm going to Indianapolis.
And I mentioned Marquette because a high school classmate of mine, Billy Scholl, is the athletic director at Marquette.
Well, I'm going to see them play. I'll be at Hinkle tomorrow night. Scott, you mentioned one more thing. High school, huge game in Indianapolis tomorrow night, right?
Yes, Fishers and Lawrence North.
Fishers and Lawrence North play tomorrow night.
Yeah, we talked to Jimmy Etherington last week, and Lawrence North. Since we talked to Jimmy, they've lost a couple. But hey, thanks to the great Shane Sumter for getting on with us. We had a little bit of a glitch technically. I'm Polish. He's German. We're basketball coaches, man. Sometimes it's amazing we got this set up rolling now, right?
We did pretty well. And you notice
we did good.
It was a quick fix.
It was a quick fix.
We got good help on the other end.
But stay with us, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your views last week. And again, Scott, you're the best, man. You make a couple of us slaps look pretty good, man.
We had 2,600 people watch one of our YouTube videos. That's pretty good stuff. Yep.
There's man.
Leroy.
There's Leroy Scott. Thanks for all you do, man, and be safe in the air, brother.
All right, we'll talk to you guys
Great
next
show,
week.
man. All right,
that was much better. I like the fist bump. I will tell everybody, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure and hit the thumbs up button on the video. And I'm going to play us out with the Big Ten's best three-point shooter. It's Zach 3D. See you next week.
I saw that.
On a switch, guarded by Ware. Edey at 3. Who says I can't hit 3? What? Who said it? We're given the opportunity, I'll practice, and I'll be able to make threes when I get to the NBA. But right now, they don't need this from me.
Matt, listen, all jokes aside,